The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Varn Krios entered. 7 feet of predatory muscle, silver-black fur and eyes that glowed like molten amber, he was a legend written in blood across a dozen star systems. The Kethran warrior had single-handedly ended the siege of Proxima, leaving 3 enemy fleets as nothing more than debris fields. When he walked, entire delegations stepped back instinctively, their primal hindbrains screaming warnings their civilized minds tried to ignore. Alara Quinn didn't step back. She stood there, all 5'3" of her clutching a datapad to her chest like a shield, her thick-rimmed glasses sliding down her nose. Her hair was pulled into a messy bun that had given up halfway through the day, and her Earth Alliance uniform looked like she'd slept in it. Which she had actually after pulling an all-nighter, decoding the Zephyros trade agreements. "Excuse me," she said, her voice somehow carrying across the vast chamber despite its softness. "You're blocking the archive access terminal." Varn Krios turned his massive head toward her, his ears flattened against his skull, a gesture that made 3 ambassadors immediately reach for their emergency beacons. Up close, Alara could see the scars crisscrossing his muzzle, the way his claws unconsciously flexed, each one capable of shearing through reinforced steel. "Move," he growled, the word rumbling from somewhere deep in his chest. Alara adjusted her glasses with one finger. "I would, but I've been waiting 45 minutes for this terminal. And according to Council Rule 7.3, subsection B, chronological priority supersedes rank during non-emergency research periods." She pulled up her datapad, showing him the relevant passage highlighted in 3 different colors. "See, I even cross-referenced it with the Kethran translation to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding any cultural nuances." For a moment, Varn simply stared at her. His packmates had scattered when he'd entered. Enemy commanders had begged for mercy when he'd boarded their ships. This tiny human was citing council regulations at him. He started, then stopped. Something flickered in those amber eyes. Confusion, perhaps, or the beginning of something else entirely. "You learned Kethran?" "Well, the basic legal dialect," Alara admitted, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "I'm still working on the military commands and the poetry forms. The metaphor structures are fascinating, actually. The way you layer meaning through temporal tense shifts is unlike anything in human linguistics." Varn's ears pricked forward. No one spoke to him about poetry. No one spoke to him about anything except battle strategy and kill counts. "The archive," he said slowly. "What do you need from it?" "Oh." Alara's entire face lit up, transforming her from mousy to radiant in an instant. "I'm researching the precursor civilization's energy distribution networks. There's this pattern I noticed in their quantum relay systems that matches certain Earth mathematical sequences. Fibonacci spirals, specifically, and I think if we could decode their power management protocols, we could solve the energy crisis in the Outer Rim territories. 17 billion people are living in rotating blackouts, and the Council keeps saying it's unsolvable, but I don't think they're looking at the problem correctly." She was talking with her hands now, datapad waving dangerously, completely unaware that the galaxy's most feared warrior was watching her with something approaching wonder. "Show me," Varn said. Alara blinked. "What?" "Your research. Show me." For the next 3 hours they sat together at the terminal, Alara explaining her theories while Varn listened with an intensity usually reserved for tactical briefings. She showed him star charts covered in her cramped handwriting, energy diagrams that looked like abstract art, mathematical proofs that made his head hurt in the best possible way. "Here," she said, pulling up a holographic display. "If we reroute the primary conduits through a nested hexagonal pattern instead of the standard grid, see how the energy loss decreases by 47%? Varn leaned closer, close enough that Alara could feel the warmth radiating from his fur, could smell something like cinnamon and ozone. "The Council's engineers will never approve this," he said. "Too radical." "I know," Alara sighed, slumping in her chair. "They've rejected my last 14 proposals. They say I don't understand political realities or resource allocation constraints." She made air quotes with her fingers, her frustration evident. Varn was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that would change the course of galactic history. "What if you had the backing of the Kethran war clans?" Alara's head snapped up. "You're joking." "I never joke about clan honor." His amber eyes were serious. "You see problems differently than anyone I've ever met. You don't see me as a weapon. You see me as someone who can understand your work. That is rare. But I'm just... You're brilliant, Varn interrupted, with such certainty that Alara felt her cheeks flush. And the galaxy is full of fools who can't recognize that because you're young and human, and you didn't go to their prestigious academies. He stood, towering over her once more, but now the sight didn't frighten her. He extended one clawed hand. Alara Quinn, I formally request the honor of serving as your sponsor before the Galactic Council. Your ideas will be heard. Your solutions will be implemented, and anyone who dismisses you will answer to me. Alara stared at his hand, then at his face, then at his hand again. Slowly, she reached out and placed her small hand in his massive paw. His fur was surprisingly soft against her skin. This is crazy, she whispered. Yes, Varn agreed, a rumbling sound that might have been a laugh. Humans usually are. That's why your species is so effective. 6 months later, the Outer Rim energy crisis was solved using Alara's precursor protocols. The Council had tried to take credit until Varn had explained the situation to them in terms they understood. Alara became the youngest chief scientific advisor in galactic history, and Varn Krios, the galaxy's most lethal warrior, found something more valuable than any battlefield victory. A friend who saw past the claws and scars to the person beneath, who talked to him about poetry and mathematics and impossible dreams. Sometimes, the most incredible thing that can happen isn't a war won or an enemy defeated. Sometimes it's two unlikely people finding understanding across the vast darkness of space, proving that intelligence, kindness, and mutual respect are the most powerful forces in the universe. The Kethran word for this, Varn taught Alara one evening as they reviewed star charts together, was Thrankesh, the bond between souls that transcends species, station, and expectation. Humanity had brought many things to the galaxy: chaos, innovation, stubborn optimism, and terrible ideas about what constituted food. But perhaps their greatest gift was this: the absolute refusal to see others as merely what they appeared to be, and the audacity to demand that everyone else do the same. That, Varn decided as he watched Alara successfully argue down 3 council members using nothing but data, determination, and a smile that could disarm a warship, was very HFY indeed.